And today's discussion, our topic is going to be best band logos of all time. So this should be an interesting one, a really fun one. And of course, I'm going to share my my opinions too. Today is National Nut Day. Doesn't mean that you're a nut or I'm a nut. We all know that I'm a nut. But nuts that you eat, they have a reputation of being a healthy snack. It is also Clean Up Earth Day. Disgusting people, pick up your garbage and throw it away, all right? And also today is Eat a Pretzel Day. So anyway, let's get to the best band logos of all time. Now, feel free to weigh in. Tell me what your favorite band and band logo is of all time and why. So this is the interactive part of the show. I would say number one for me is the Rolling Stones. Why? Why is the Rolling Stones the number one best band logo ever? It's easily recognizable without even saying Rolling Stones. And as you can imagine, we all immediately think of the mouth with the tongue sticking out. Whenever we see that, we immediately think Rolling Stones, right? Am I wrong? I don't think that I am. Yep, Guns N' Roses, Van Halen. See, here they come. Here they come. And we'll discuss each of these as much as I can, okay? Rolling Stones, you immediately see that the lips with the tongue sticking out. And that's been their logo for ever, I believe. And it's easily recognizable. Even if it's small, like you see it in a magazine, you could be flipping through a magazine and that immediately catches your eye. It's red. It's a tongue sticking out. And that's a brand, right? And their brand has always remained their brand. So consistency in brand and brand recognition becomes a household name. AC/DC, very, very simple band name, but they have the electrical bolt in the middle. And then the letters AC/DC also sort of emulate that electricity bolt going. And AC/DC is a very easy name to remember. And when you see those four letters with the lightning bolt, it's easily recognizable. And it's like black letters with the white outline, or sometimes it's white letters with the black outline. Kirby says the Stones logo was from Andy Warhol. Wow. See? A very famous artist, according to Kirby, put that logo together. Red Hot Chili Peppers is another one. So Red Hot Chili Peppers has like this cross, and then a cross that's turned 90 degrees. So it has it and it's red, and then it says Red Hot Chili Peppers around in a circle. That's been their logo forever. And that's another one. You immediately see that red cross star thing. I immediately think Red Hot Chili Peppers when I see that. That's something that's always remained consistent. Somebody said Aerosmith. Kirby said Aerosmith. Aerosmith is number 4 on my list. So Aerosmith, in addition to it saying Aerosmith, sort of has like this stick figure guy with his hands up like this, and it has a star on his chest, and then these like eagle wings looking things coming out. That's been Aerosmith's logo forever and ever. Easily recognizable. So you can recognize these bands just from the image that they're using, and you don't even have to read the band name. You just immediately know, oh, that's Red Hot Chili Peppers, that's Aerosmith, that's AC/DC, that's Rolling Stones. Guns N' Roses. Who mentioned Guns N' Roses? I think it was Greg. Yep. Guns N' Roses. They've used the same logo forever with the 2 pistols that are pointing like this, and then there's some roses in this round badge that says Guns N' Roses on it. Aerosmith probably has the busiest logo so far. You automatically see this guy, stick figure kind of guy with these wings in Aerosmith. You can just see the shape of that and automatically think, oh, there's Aerosmith. Beatles, just in the font they used. So it would say the, and then Beatles, a big capital letter, E-A capital T, big T, and then LES. So just in the way they wrote the Beatles made it really stand out and easy to see. Van Halen, big capital V, big capital H. They too sort of had these sort of wing things that came off of that. Super easy to see. All you have to see is VH in that shape. You know it's Van Halen. There's no missing that, right? How about KISS? The KISS logo, KISS, all capital letters. And they too have like a jagged font to their letters, similar to AC/DC, I would say. But anytime you've ever seen KISS marked on anything, it's capital letters. It's no capital K, lowercase I, lowercase s, lowercase s. It's 4 capital letters and kind of that jaggedy font that they use. And that has always been the case. So immediately when you see KISS, now KISS also, I believe, are marketing geniuses. They've been able to slap the KISS brand on just about anything that you could possibly imagine. When I was a kid going to school, there was a lot of kids that had KISS lunchboxes with a KISS thermos in it, KISS action figures. You can buy KISS bath towels, KISS toilet. Whatever you think of, you could put KISS on it. You could put KISS on a coffee mug. I think that they have thought of everything, it would seem. Metallica. Metallica is another one, and the way that they wrote Metallica, because the M on the one side has a let's see, am I backwards? I don't know if I'm backwards. Their M, instead of it just being an M, the one side is angled and sharp and comes up and says Metallica. And then when they get the A, the outside edge of A comes down sharp like the M does. Even if you can't make out the letters, if you just see that big line and that big line, when you first see it, oh, that's Metallica. And they've been consistent in their branding. 9 Inch Nails, says Greg. So 9 Inch Nails, you have an N, and then an I, and then a backwards N, I believe. Really super easy to see. Those 3 letters, you see that, and when you see, and I think it's normally like a block that's black with maybe white letters, easily recognizable. They don't have to spell out 9 Inch Nails, N-I-N. Immediately recognize that. Judas Priest, says Greg. Greg, I'm not overly familiar with Judas Priest's logos. So I'll just take your word for it. I would have to go look and check that out. Greg says I should do an episode about the most iconic record covers. Yeah. You know what the first one that pops in my mind is? Pink Floyd with the prism on it. Is that Dark Side of the Moon? I think that it is. But yeah, you immediately see that album cover, Pink Floyd. Boom. See, now, Greg, you bring to mind time travel thing that I think some of us who are a little older remember. You know, we would go mow lawns and save our money to go buy the latest album. We were invested in a band. We wanted to look at artwork. We wanted to read liner notes. That is a big bummer in the way that we listen and consume music now, because it's all about singles and it doesn't matter about artwork and all of that kind of stuff, because we just stream everything. So I'm well aware of the convenience of that, but I think there's so much lost in being completely invested in a band and checking out their artwork and everything that went into it, and just totally immersing ourselves in that whole experience. Yeah. And yes, Daniel, Boston with the guitar spaceship. Yep. See, all of those are easily recognizable brand logos. James says Chicago, originally Chicago Transit Authority. Oh yeah, I forgot they were originally Chicago Transit Authority, but that was trademarked. Oddly, Chicago wasn't, so the band trademarked it. Oh, cool. Yeah, and Chicago used that same font and logo, I think, to this day. They still have that. Here's some things to consider when you're putting your band logo together. And this could tie back to your band promotion stuff we talked about last week, is the colors that we use. So if you're using an image that's pretty light and then you use like a white font over the top of that, that white color can get lost in the picture and it makes it hard to read. You need to make your promotional stuff very easy to read and understand, because we're in this mode of swiping. Oh, I'm doing this now. I'm getting thumbs up. I didn't know that. That must be a thing. Thumbs up. It did it once. There it goes again. Reactions are now enabled with, okay. That's some new thing. I don't know how that works. Make it really clear and easy to read and understand. So the colors that you use, do they contrast really well and easily to see? Oh, Midline is playing at the Revolution Concert House on this date. And Revolution Concert House is spelled correctly. And it's very easy to understand and see what the information is. And then if you have links to something, make those links easy to get to and to people clue in, oh, I push this and I can get tickets to that show. Thomas, have you ever seen death metal logos? Yes, I have. Their band names just like a bunch of scribbles. They do. I see these death metal band names that it's a study to look at those, and to me it looks like somebody took a barbed wire fence and just crumpled it up into a big ball and said, here's our band name. And then you got to try to figure out, like, oh, those little straight parts of the wire, they make these letters. It's that's not a world I'm in, that scene. And so maybe people who are in that scene are accustomed to focusing in on what those band names are. I am not. So I look at that and I just get annoyed. If your band doesn't have a logo, that's fine. But maybe the font in which you write your band name is really important. I mentioned Kiss a few minutes ago. Kiss has that, the S is just like a jag like that. And the I is just straight, and then the K kind of is jagged like the S. And AC/DC as well. They have the lightning bolt in the middle, and then the AC and the DC both kind of have a little jagged into them like electricity. And so just the letters, the font itself can make a big deal about. And I mentioned the Beatles too. I think the Doors logo look like stencils. So if you know what stencils are, like old school stencils, that's what the Doors logo looks like. The Monkees. It says the Monkees, but they made all the letters fit into the shape of a guitar, and that was the Monkees logo. Mary said, did you mention Foo Fighters? Foo Fighters has the two cursive Fs tied together. So that's kind of like a Nine Inch Nails thing, where you see N-I-N. When you just see the two Fs together, it's immediately recognizable as Foo Fighters without having to write Foo Fighters. I think it's genius marketing, especially for online stuff. And sometimes space is a consideration where you're trying to get a bunch of information in. If let's say the Foo Fighters are going to play a show at the Ford Idaho Center, they would just have to have their logo and a date. That's about as much promotion as Foo Fighters would need to do, is that simple thing. And we, as fans of Foo Fighters, are going to seek out how to get tickets to that. Greg says it's not a band, but the Guitar Center logo comes to mind. Yeah, there are a lot of products and businesses out there that have logos that are easy to recognize. FedEx is one, UPS is another, Amazon. The list goes on and on and on and on. If we really start getting into it, McDonald's has the golden arches, right? That's been their marketing brand forever. It's very clear and easy to understand, and I think it makes sense to do that with your band too. Scott Alexander, hello Scott. The second Queensryche logo through 90s, same as Oasis. The Helvetica Euro font. Yeah. Yep. The being consistent in the font you use, I think, is really, really great. And Scott just made me think, like the first Queensryche record that came out, their logo was, I think it leaned more towards what we were talking about earlier with the kind of death metal logos. It was pretty busy and kind of twisted. And then after that, I think it got clearer and easier to understand. And I think it remained pretty much the same all through the 90s into the 2000s. Yeah. DW, Yamaha, Ludwig, Pearl, Gretsch. Yep, exactly, James. DW, just see that lowercase d and a lowercase w inside the circle. We all immediately know it's Drum Workshop. Yeah, Zildjian, even just the Z on its own, the way that Z is written, you immediately think of Zildjian cymbals. Yeah, 100%. Ludwig, Pearl, Gretsch, yeah, all of those companies. Yamaha's logo has always been the tuning forks. I think there's 3 tuning forks that make up that logo. And it's the same logo they use for motorcycles and ATVs and all of that. So the Yamaha Corporation has that tuning fork logo. And these are logos of very successful companies and logos of very successful bands. Now, I'm not saying that your logo is all you need to have a successful band, but I think it helps in your marketing and what you're doing to have something that you can put out there and immediately go, oh, that's this band. Just like the Foo Fighters, those 2 Fs, like I said, all you need to do is see that logo and they're playing somewhere. Scott says, dude, Yamaha is tuning forks in a motorcycle wheel. I didn't realize it was a motorcycle wheel. I just thought it was a circle with the tuning forks. See, I learned something new today. So here's some ideas to get you moving if you need some help. Does a logo grab your attention? Like, we want to associate those things. So me as a drummer and have played drums for a long time now, just like my other drummer friends here, when you see certain logos, you have an association because of that product, just like the companies that James was mentioning. I play Vader drumsticks, so all you need to do is see this V. You don't need to know much more than that, other than, oh, that's a drumstick, it has a V on it, that's Vader. Peisty, the way that they write Peisty, easily recognizable, right? Same with Zildjian and Sabian. And Sabian's logo has, oh, I have a Sabian hi-hat here on this little student kit. Sabian always has like this, I think it looks like half of a symbol. So that's been their, I think they changed how they write their letters. James is here, and so is Bart Robley, and those are Sabian endorsed guys, so they probably know more about the update and how they wrote Sabian. But nonetheless, they're a company that's easy to recognize. So are you putting something together that grabs people's attention? What do you want your logo to achieve? If you're a death metal band and you want to achieve confusion, then this could be your band name. Like, figure out what that is. Because that's kind of what it looks like, right? Looks like a mess of wire. It's even worse now. All I would have to do to come up with the death metal logo is to carry this around my pocket for 10 minutes and pull it out, and I think we'll have what we're after. So what do you want your logo to achieve? Find something that's unique and stands out, and pay attention to the color. Again, if you want contrasting colors, if colors are too similar to backgrounds and things like that, it kind of gets lost, and you don't want that to happen. You want to be very clear in what you're presenting, and so that things don't get lost. And consider the use of imagery. We've talked about that before, like Rolling Stones was the #1 thing because they have the lips with the tongue sticking out. That imagery alone just says Rolling Stones. You don't have, there's no mistaking that at all. You just immediately see that and think, oh, Rolling Stones. That's even more simplified than the Foo Fighters. James says 311 is a good one. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. So the 3 and 311, I think, is kind of big 3, and then the 2 1s, and maybe sort of this oval shape around it. I think that's the case. But see, there's a good point. So James just James just mentioned 311, and I'm trying to remember what it looked like. And so at least 311's logo or way of writing worked well enough that I could, if I thought about it, I could think about what that looks like. Now, I'm not a huge 311 fan. I'm not super familiar with their music or anything like that, so it's not something I have against 311, but it's just one of those bands I never really paid attention to. But to James's point, the way that they wrote 311, it was easy to recognize. And then the last thing is keeping it simple. Again, this goes against the death metal logos, which are super busy, and you really got to study them to figure out. You know, between me and Thomas, we could probably keep coming up with a lot of different things that would, you know, just go look at a dense tree without its leaves on, with all the branches and stuff, and now you're trying to pick out the name of the band in that mess. That's not simple. The Rolling Stones' Mouth with the Tongue Sticking Out is simple. Kiss is simple. 9 Inch Nails is simple. AC/DC is simple. And yeah, so like AC/DC and Kiss, those aren't logo bands. It's just font, right? It's their font is what makes them unique. And makes them stand out, and it's very simple. And it gets your attention really easily. It's consistency in your brand and your brand marketing really helps. Because if somebody sees your marketing and they've paid attention to it for 3 seconds, and this goes back to what I was talking about a little bit last week about promoting your band, you have to post frequently in order for the algorithms to go, oh, people are interested in this, and then they keep pushing that because you're posting frequently. So if you're posting frequently, as you should, and your marketing is consistent, then when they see that, they start to recognize it more and more. So for my case, oh, there's Midline. There's Midline. What's Midline doing now? There's this little logo. This is the way that Midline's written. Maybe they're recognizing the faces of the people in the band, or whatever the case may be, but it's consistency. It's not like you don't see Kiss. The Fred Rock brand. Yes, how could I be so negligent in overlooking that? Yes, Fred Rock. Thank you, James. Good grief. Somebody should smack me around. So I have this Fred Rock logo on my drumstick. If you guys can see that, let me try to help you out. So Fred Rock, and it has this drum with a star embedded in it. Now, I'm not the first one to use a star in your logo, but Fred Rock is my brand. Fred Rock came about in 1992. I was living in Florida, in Tampa Bay, Florida, working for a company called Worldwide Showcase. And they put bands together and sent them on the road. And one of the other drummers from one of the other Showcase bands was my roommate. And he is the one that started calling me Fred Rock. So this happened in 1992. So is that 32 years ago now? So that kind of became this off and on again nickname that I had. And then as I got busier with my drumming career, I had more and more friends start calling me Fred Rock. So then when I started teaching, I decided to call my studio Fred Rock School of Drumming. And it's just become a thing that's associated with what I do. So yeah, I asked Vader Drumsticks if they could put my signature on a stick with my logo. And this is a normal pair of 5B hickory wood tip sticks from Vader, which for me personally, now I don't want to get too far off on a journey on drumsticks and why I use certain things, but it was a very comfortable drumstick for me, and to me it's like a workhorse. I can pretty much do anything with that size stick. So I committed to putting my Fred Rock logo on that. And then my students, they want drumsticks that say Fred Rock on them. And I said, well, you could buy the same sticks down at a Guitar Center, and they say they're not the same. They don't have your name on them. I'm like, they're exactly the same. But they have a connection. They want to support me. So there we go. Yes, James, thank you for saying that. Mark says Casio Dreams. Casio Dreams, yes. So they're a local band that has consistency in their marketing. And when I look at their logo, and they kind of have this upside down triangle, there's so many 80s things that come to mind when you see Casio Dreams, which is great because they're an 80s pop synth tribute band. And so, I can look at their logo and I can think of, remember the video game called Tron, and then Tron had a movie, and you could maybe associate their logo with Back to the Future type themes. The way the font is written makes me think of Nightmare on Elm Street, so the Freddy Krueger movies. There's a lot of things that you could look at Casio Dreams and start associating that with 80s era things, which is really super cool. I really like Greg's idea about talking about iconic album covers. I will figure out when to talk about that soon. I've got a big list in my notebook here of things to talk about, which is awesome. I will see you next Tuesday for episode 98 of 100. I think so, 98, 90. Episode 100. I'm trying to decide what to do about that, because I think hitting 100 episodes is a big deal. At least to me, it seems like a big deal. And in conjunction with that, that will be after my next doctor's appointment. So hopefully I'll have really great stuff to say about the progress of my leg and what it looks like for being able to walk again. I am so ready to walk like a normal person, but to be honest with you, I'm a bit frightened at the same time because my leg is so weak. My thigh muscle has reduced a lot, and so it's strange to look at my legs so skinny, and it's I know it's going to be odd, so I'm a little nervous, to say the least, about trying to put pressure on that leg, but I know it's the next necessary step. So I think episode 100 will include a big update on the leg situations.